Hey everyone, welcome back to day number 4, the PM session number 2. And we have another amazing speaker today. So let me just tell you real quick that this 5-day virtual summit is sponsored by the Goal Slayer Show. And I am your host, Rosa Barriget, your online business coach for virtual assistant. So today I want to introduce you to an amazing person. Let me go here to my little notes. So our next speaker, she is a powerhouse. Her name is Shana, and is the founder and CEO of Shana Bryant Consulting. She is a motivational guru, and she focuses on encouragement and empowerment of women and girls to create change. Her mission is to organize the chaos in your life or people's life or business through education, training, and curated experiences by helping individuals, small businesses, and nonprofits create flawless, high-impact experiences. So, guys, help me welcome Shana to the show. Shana to the show. I'm always messing up her name. Hi, Shana.
Hi, Rosa. We just did this too.
I know. We just practiced this 1 minute ago before we went live. How to pronounce her name, and I still did it.
So it's Shana Bryant.
Shana, like in Spanish, Shana. Okay. So how are you, dear?
I'm great. I'm hanging.
I am super excited you accepted to do this with me.
Thank you for having me and for putting out the what you think you're good at and how you can talk to somebody for 30 minutes.
So Chantel's here. Thank you, Chantel, for joining us. She said hi.
Hi, Chantel.
So let me remove this for a second so we can better chat. So Shana, how are you doing with COVID-19? How has it impacted your routine?
So I'm doing okay. This is for me like week 3 that I'm considering like in the house, hunkering down and trying to practicing social distancing or physical distancing. And so for me, I am a full-time entrepreneur and do event planning. And so I sort of had a routine where I knew that the biggest thing that for my routine was I made sure that I left the house a couple days a week and I would go work at a co-working space.
Okay.
As well as I had blocks where I would do consultations for potential clients or folks that would reach out and have questions about like, how am I doing this business thing and as an entrepreneur? And so kind of mentor time. And then I knew there would be days that, if I was going to be out and about at meetings, I would try to do that on certain days so that it just wouldn't be every day I would have to leave the house. And so for me, that was the gist of my routine, making sure I left the house and didn't stay in during the day. I didn't have necessarily a full I hadn't mastered, like, in the morning, I need to make sure I check my emails and I need to do a routine and I need to do this, that, and the other. And so now that COVID-19, I really had to sit down and be like, okay, in order to feel like I'm being productive, focused, and motivated, I really had to start to think about like, what are the main things I want to do? I want to make sure that I'm doing throughout the week and then figure out how to kind of like plug and play and put those things in so that my daily routine made sense. And at the end of the day, I felt productive as well as I was being forgiving to myself. So there were times over the last couple of weeks where I felt like maybe I didn't do enough or, I didn't finish my to-do list or just
that guilt trip.
It wasn't, that guilt and wasn't being very forgiving to myself. And so I realized that I needed to sit down and really put some things on paper that made sense for me and what I know I wanted to make sure I was accomplishing on a weekly basis. And so if you want to show...
I was going to ask you, like, what adjustments did you have to make or improvement?
So if you put on the next, at that PowerPoint, I can share how I went through and really adjusted, and I feel like have improved my routine. And so here you're going to see what I started off with was thinking about what I really wanted to make sure I did every day, right? And so for me, that was drinking water, right? And I knew that I'm home now, and so the excuse of like, oh, I'm gonna have to be running to the bathroom all the time, it doesn't really matter because I'm home and the bathroom is right here, right? And so making sure I'm drinking at minimum 64 ounces of water. I know I've heard other health gurus say that you really should be drinking like half of your body weight or something crazy, and so I certainly probably need to be increasing that. But at minimum, drinking 64 ounces of water and making sure that I'm doing a minimum of 6 hours of work, making sure that I'm talking to at least 2 people, and one of those needs to be a FaceTime, so Zoom or WhatsApp, but really making sure that I'm connecting with folks and not just sitting at home all day talking to myself. Because that happens as a full-time entrepreneur as well. And then making sure that I'm sleeping at least 8 hours. Definitely no excuse not to be getting my sleep now that I'm home. And then stretching. For me, stretching was important because I have a back issue. And so I know that getting up in the morning and stretching and moving my body was important. And I know that beyond the stretching, you know, being able to work out and do some type of physical activity is necessary, particularly with a lot of this sitting and doing work blocks and so forth. And then creating a daily to-do list. And although this is not the absolute focus of this conversation, with that daily to-do list, I try to make sure that it is manageable and realistic. And so, you know, loading your to-do list with lots of things that you're not going to be able to get done, it doesn't feel good at the end of the day. So making sure that it has no more than 7 to 10 items or tasks that make sense and feel reasonable to get done. So these are my must-dos throughout the day. And then what I did was I started to think about the first 90 minutes of the day. And so my goal is to get up by at least 10 o'clock every day. That actually has been a rule I implemented with when I became a full-time entrepreneur, that I would not take a meeting before 10 o'clock because I'm not an early morning riser and I could make my own schedule. And so 10 o'clock was kind of like that, unless it was absolutely necessary not to meet with anybody before 10. And so to at least get up by 10, and that morning routine is important, and it's a must. And so drinking at least a 16-ounce bottle of water, doing my stretches, which include hand yoga because I have carpal tunnel. And so doing that as well as stretching my back and so forth. And then I do a gratitude jar. And so I have a planner that actually has some morning prompts for each day. And it actually asks you, what are you grateful for? So that's just part of my routine to really think about the very simple things that I'm grateful for, like waking up, having hot water, having, you know, being able to still have an income and, you know, pay the bills and have a refrigerator full of food. So I really, when I'm practicing gratitude on a daily basis, it's always those simple things that I think we tend to forget sometimes that are really important. And then I review my weekly planner, which is, I fill that out on Sundays and kind of look at the week ahead and what are priorities, and it helps me think about what tasks need to have due dates, and, you know, what I need to be doing at the beginning of the week and what I need to be doing at the end of the week. I check my emails, and then I don't get on social media. So this was a huge, should have been on that must do, but not starting my day off with social media. And so the morning is major for me. And then if you look at the end of the day, I have a no work time slot, which is usually at least 4 hours. And during that time, I make sure that I cook dinner. I talk to friends. That's like my, you know, no work time. And journal, make sure I drink some tea. My goal is to eat either an apple or a salad every day. And so one of those two things will happen, and then low tech. And so for me, that means very little social media. And so my goal is to, one, not wake up with like being inundated with social media and what's happening in the world, and also going to sleep at night with like that's what's on my head, because then you can get caught up in the vortex of social media, and before you know it, hours have gone by. And so it's important for me not to start my day with that and not to end it with that as well. And then I have a breakfast lunch, which is 2 hours, because I have time and I don't really want to rush myself. This is where I try to make sure at least every other day I go outside and I walk at least 30 minutes. And so the first 2 weeks I found myself, it was over a week before I had just went outside, and it was kind of like social distancing didn't mean that you can't like go breathe in some fresh air. And so I try to make sure at least every other day I get outside. And this is where I also give myself time to just get on social media and whatever, get caught up in the vortex and the, social, the personal, whatever, just scanning that we typically do and can get caught up in. And then the other thing that's really important for me that I've figured out is to do work blocks. And so this is really important for folks that, we're working at home remotely for the first time. We are working at home now with families and distractions. And either this could be your first time working remotely, or in particular, the first time working with family and having those other distractions, right? Which is completely different than if you were a remote worker and your kids went to school and your husband went to school or significant other, but now you've got other folks that want your attention. They can be disruptive. And so for me, what I do is
especially with young kids, right?
Right. And so
they don't know that they don't understand that mom or dad is home, and you can see them. But how do you understand that they're working when you can see them sitting there?
I think this is where the work blocks now. I talked to a woman who, she has a 2-year-old. And so what she said is she's doing her routine around her 2-year-old, right? So when he or they are napping or whatever it is, this is when you can really figure out how to, that maximize your time. And so with the work blocks, it can be 2 or 3 hour blocks where you literally are focused. You review your to-do list. You have prioritized your to-do list. You do what is called eat the frog. And so eat the frog is really important. It is the idea that you will not procrastinate on that one task that you need to get done, and you likely will wait for the last minute to get it done, or you really just don't want to do it. And so I put that task in my morning block, and I try to get it done before 2:00. So I try to get it done before I go on lunch. And this is where it's important to make sure that your tasks on your to-do list are realistic and not like, they're manageable. And then again, drinking water, and that social media, I'm replying to if it's business related, and I need to go reply. That's when I will do that in that morning block. And so I try to make sure that I have at least 2 work blocks. And again, you can either do it for 2 hours or you can do it for 3 hours. And what I recommend is at least every 20 to 30 minutes to get up and take a break, stand up for a second, make sure you're stretching. If you got to go to the bathroom because you've been drinking all this water, you can do that. But I don't expect anybody to just sit for 2 to 3 hours, right? But you are really focused within that 2 to 3 hours. And so what I also do, you'll see on here, is I pause my emails during this. So there is an app called Boomerang that is you can do it as an extension on your Gmail, and it gives you the option to pause your incoming emails for a certain amount of time. And so I do that. I pause my emails. I have turned off all of the alerts on my cell phone. And so the only thing that can come through are texts and my calendar alerts. Everything else, social media, my calendars, WhatsApp, all of that is now paused, and I don't get any alerts. And then you can also, if you didn't want to be disturbed on your phone, you can put, there is a do not disturb option as well. I use this at night. And what it allows you to do is block off everything that's coming through. And if you're worried about certain people being able to get you, you can set it up so that your favorites, whoever you have on your favorites, they can get through. But other than that, and so then that means, someone like if my mom or my son calls me, because they'll always get through, I can just say I'm working right now. And at this point, because I've been home for over a year, when I say I'm working, they recognize and they respect that. And so, I'll give you a call back when I'm done with this work block. And with these work blocks, I also recommend that folks do, they do something where I actually do a work session or a work group. And so I invite several friends to join me on Zoom. And so this helps with holding you accountable. And so we'll do a quick check-in. What are you working on for the next hour? What are you working on right now? And then we'll come back every 30 minutes and say, how you doing? Good. Okay. Go back to work. And again, we can do this for 2 or 3 hours. And it really just helps with, one, you get to be connected with somebody, which is important. And then two, there's somebody that's helping you hold you accountable, which is also important, and you don't feel like that you are just out here doing this alone, which, this social distancing can feel isolating.
Very.
So it's definitely important to find ways to be connected with others. And I think this work sessions has been really helpful for me.
And can you give some examples of what's a manageable routine besides this one, right? So let's say someone that has 2 toddlers, let's say twin toddlers, and that are running around, and they do, let me think, virtual assistant work. And what else? And they have a teenager son or teen, let's say a high school kid, and they need to do all these things. But what would you call a manageable routine? Instead of like, okay, I got to do laundry, I got to cook, I got to do my virtual work, I got to tend to the kids. What would you call something manageable? Or do you think people should create a list and see how it works for them, and then modify it as they go to make it work for them?
So I think we're going to be modifying, until we feel like we get it right. And so the first routine I create, this is week 1 of this one. And initially I had 9 hours of, so 3 different 3-hour work blocks. And I already recognized that those work blocks probably need to be 2 hours instead of 3. And then it feels more manageable. What I would say with somebody that, has a house full of other things that they need to do, you need to, this kind of needs to be everybody all in, right? And recognize that we're going to have to, like those work blocks, those should actually be everybody's work blocks. So let's try to figure out what is the time during the day, 1 or 2 times in the morning, in the afternoon, or even if, if you're late evening folks, from 7 to 9 can be a work block as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so what are times where everybody can really respect that I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm going to be doing. And you can have one every day, like that morning or that early afternoon one where it's the same every day. Or if you need to, based off of, I need to do laundry.
What else is going on?
Right? So you can adjust it based off what's happening in your household. When you have toddlers, you need to base it off of their schedule, right? You can't ask the toddlers to, hang out for 3 hours or for 2 hours while I'm doing this, right? And so really figuring out, particularly during those breakfast and, your morning breakfast and relaxed time, that's where it doesn't have to be a specific routine, right? And so that during breakfast, I'm going to cook, breakfast, lunch, which I'm on intermittent eating. And so I'm trying to eat between 12 and 1 or 9 or whatever, right? So I don't eat breakfast, but that can be laundry time. That can be hanging out with the kids time. That can be whatever you want it to be. But I do think you've got to figure out time where you feel like you can be productive and work around that and make sure that everybody knows now it's time to, similar to we're going to shut the kitchen down. You know, it's time to go to bedtime, whatever it is. Right. And so if you know that, you know, you can get the kids in the bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock, or that, you know, they always take a nap at, you know, like, let's make sure that that's the time where you can be most productive. Mm-hmm. And then work around that. But it definitely has to be, and I would actually recommend doing it collectively. So, you know, if there's a, you know, everybody, what do we need to be doing, right? What have we figured out our must-haves, and how can we help each other support to make sure that we're getting the must-haves done? And on Sundays is another good time.
Pick a day of the week to do.
Beginning of the week, right? So on Sundays, to really sit down and as a family, right? To just say, okay, these are the things that are really important. You know, these are the times that I'm going to be on the podcast. These are the times that, you know, I'm going to have to give my attention to something else. And I need you all to be quiet in the background. I need you all not to disturb me. And to really, I think just communicating that there's life, I still need to get things done. I still need to work. And we've got to figure out how to make sure that we're collectively in the household helping each other get things done.
I know. So you suggest that when possible, try to do your routine for the week on Sundays with the family?
Yes.
If possible. You know, possible. It doesn't always go as planned.
No, but I think this is why it has to be like, start with one or two things, right? So it doesn't have to be a laundry list of stuff.
Start small.
Start small and manageable, and then you can increase your habits, and, you know, but start small so that it feels manageable.
Awesome. So let me say hello to some people that have joined us. Hi, Gloria. Paula has joined us. Alex, Jasenia, Ernest. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's see. We have some comments here. So Chantel said hi. I think I said that earlier. And Chantel says that she read the book, Eat the Frog.
Yes.
So I actually read an article about Eat the Frog first.
You said you did?
I read an article. I didn't know that they had an actual book.
Yeah. So I read the book last year, and I was like, okay, this is good. This is really good.
This is really good. So let me think of another question about routines, right? So do you have, or do you use, or do you recommend any apps? Because not everybody likes, you know, pen and paper. I mean, I'm old fashioned. I write everything down, and then I also use apps. So do you use any apps for that, for like keeping tasks?
So I use my Google Calendar. I use a Panda planner, and I like the Panda planner because it has different prompts, and it has a weekly, on Sundays you can plan out your week. And so it has prompts where it allows you to review last week, think about your wins, how you're going to improve. And then when you're planning for the upcoming week, it helps you think about things that are going to make this week great, what I'm looking forward to, habits I'm focusing on, something I want to learn new. And then it has sections where you can break out your different projects that you're working on and kind of your to-do list, and then also your top goals. And then it has a page where you can journal and do whatever reflecting. And then I also like it because, like I said, on the daily prompts, it has I'm grateful for, I'm excited about, and priorities in the morning at the top. And then at the end of the day, it has today's wins and how I'll improve. And so I am very much a prompt, need to be, you know, repetition habits. And so this is why I did like that planner. And so I pull that out every Sunday, and it helps me reflect on what went well and, like, you know, what I'm working on for the week. And then it helps me to think about like what my daily task list need to be, what the priorities are. And then, like I said, I use Boomerang. I incorporated Boomerang on my Gmail. And so that allows me to pause my incoming emails, as well as Boomerang allows you to schedule emails. And so even if you are working late, I like this because people still don't have to know that you're doing crazy hours, right? Like you can schedule stuff at 8 o'clock in the morning, like regular hours, right?
So you can, so Boomerang, you can do an email, let's say at 10 o'clock at night, and you can schedule it to send out to, let's say, your boss or whoever at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because the beauty of that is that you are setting boundaries, so people are not expecting you to reply to emails or asking you for stuff past your work hours, right?
Right, right. I think the other thing, so those are right now what is working for me. I'm not a huge like electronic.
So Chantel wants to know if you can show the planner, the cover. Yeah.
Yes.
And
So
I'll post the link. Did you get it on Amazon?
Yes, I got it at Amazon. It's called the Panda Planner, Panda Planner.
I really like that planner with the concept of it, because in the morning it's almost like you are creating your day. And like you start with positivity, right? And what we think about, that's what we're gonna bring. And reflection at the end too. And what can I do better?
Right.
Tavia said, great idea. So Chantel and whoever's interested, I will post a link to the planner in the comments when we're done here. So let's see, Shanna. So our time is almost up, but I got a couple of questions more for you.
Okay.
What virtual events you have coming up? Because I think I've seen some in your Facebook.
Yes. So what I'm doing is I started to do gratitude and goal setting check-ins every Monday at 6 p.m. and every Thursday at 11 a.m. And so doing these really just to at the beginning of the week and towards the end of the week to help folks really stay focused and motivated. And I know that, you know, every week, every day can be like new information, daunting. You know, we're all at some point going to be impacted by COVID-19, you know, in some kind of way, or we already have. But like today, I learned that a close family friend lost their father.
Sorry to hear
you know,
that.
so there's these things where we just we need to check in, right? We need to really remember the small things that we're grateful for. And so those are Mondays at 6 o'clock and Thursdays at 11 a.m. And, you know, all are welcome to join. There's a Eventbrite link. Just register and you'll get the Zoom meeting number. And those will be going on at least to the end of May, probably longer, because I predict.
And I'll post the link to the Eventbrite for that under the comments here when we're done.
Okay.
So I think I heard you're having also a vision board virtual party.
I am. So I, you know, being a creative, I have these, and before we could not do live events. Several times last year, I would host vision board parties, and so I am doing a virtual vision board party Saturday, April 11th. And so, you know, if you're not busy, right, if you don't have nothing going on, it's going to be from 5 to 7. What we're going to do is also offer, Zoom has the opportunity to have breakout rooms. And so if you want to tell your family members and your cousins want to, you know, get together, or your aunties or whatever, and, you know, you all can have a breakout room. We'll start just, you know, an overview when we get started. And then if folks want to break out, or we'll just have a large room. And so if you've already done
a great opportunity, if you have kids that want to do it with you, because I did a vision board workshop one time, and it was just moms and their kids, and it was so beautiful, the things that the kids came up with. So this will be a good opportunity to teach your kids about vision boards, and like what you think about you can actually attract, and 2, you're bonding with your kid.
So it's family friendly. It's just going to be a cut and paste. Get some scissors, and, you know, we'll figure out what things you might have in your home that you can use. You know, the cereal box if you don't have, you know, paper or whatever to use, and magazines, and, you know, we'll
it's very therapeutic for some people.
It is therapeutic.
The cutting part.
And I think that it's important to really be thinking about, as we're heading to the second quarter of the year, even if you've done a vision board, it still is important we're actually going to have to reevaluate like our goals, right? Because, you know, financially things may not be the same. You know, so if you had a new house, car, and 2 vacations this year, you know, those vacations probably ain't
They're gonna have to wait. They will happen. They just have to be. You got to prioritize what's important right now.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that next Saturday.
Awesome. I'm gonna be joining. I put it on my calendar.
Okay.
So guys, meet me there so we can be in our own little together. So I'm sure people are wondering, is there a fee to register for the Vision Board party?
There is not a fee. It's really hard at this moment to be doing, having folks pay. What there is there is a suggested donation, because like I said, I am a full-time entrepreneur, and just like, many others, lost contracts and so forth. And so certainly if folks want to donate, I will take that. So there is a suggested donation of $10.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed is watching. Laverne, she wasn't able to watch the most of it, but great job, Shana.
Hi.
Laverne, you can always catch the replay. Chantel said, what time again? Let me pull it up, Chantel.
So it's Sundays at 6 p.m. Oh, the Vision Board is Saturday, April 11th at 5 p.m.
I don't know which one she was referring to, so I'm pulling both of them up. Okay. And then the gratitude one, go set and check in.
Those are on Mondays at 6 and Thursdays at 11 a.m.
Yes. So last but not least, how can people stay in touch with you?
So they can, my social media is Shana Bryant Consulting, Facebook and Instagram. And then my website is shanabryant.net. And so you can learn more about me there. And, when we get back to doing live events, certainly keep me in mind. I do fundraisers, galas, launch parties, conferences.
Do you mind naming some of the ones that you have done? Because I don't remember how we met, but I remember that I did volunteer to one of your events that you were planning.
You did one of the girls' conferences. I've been doing girls' conferences for middle and high school girls for over a decade now. And so I have my conference is called the Let Me Lead Girls Conference. And right now we are still planning to have it October 17th and 18th. Still in the, planning phases. And the website for that is the Let Me Lead conference.
But we can put it here in the comments when we're done. So what is the Let Me Lead conference for? I know what it is, but for those that have never heard of it.
So it is a 2-day conference, empowerment conference to expose girls to different topics. We have workshops that are facilitated by women of color, mental health, sexual health, sisterhood, and leadership development. And so it's 2 days, keynote speakers. On Sunday, last year, for the first time, we invited the mothers. And so we had a mother-daughter panel discussion and a sister circle for the mothers, and we unpacked generational trauma and curses. Oh, and so this year, we're really looking forward to doing a full day where we the mothers on Sunday. What we found is we do 2 days of kind of unpacking, the girls back up, and then they go home. We don't really know what kind of issues they're having with their parents. And so we just decided it was important to bring the mothers and invite them. And here we had 96 girls and 50 mothers. And this year we'll do double all of those numbers. And so the conference will be on October 17th and 18th. And it's called the Let Me Lead Girls Conference.
Awesome. So we got some comments here. So Antoine says, hello, my people.
Hi, Antoine. Is that from MGH?
I don't know. I never work at MGH, but maybe let us know, Antoine, if you know I'm Shana from MGH. Gloria said that is great. That's a great idea. A parent can do with their seniors before they graduate and go off to college, the Vision Board.
Yes.
That's a great idea. And it gives the parent some insight on what things the senior has in mind for his future too.
Yes. I think that any young person that can do it. I didn't do one until I was well over 30. And so I think it's a great activity. Like I did that as an adult. I never did a vision
Me
board.
too. I did it as an adult too.
So I think
when I started learning a lot about The Secret, the book, that's when I started doing vision boards.
Yep.
Let's see who else. Okay, so we got some questions or comments here. Chantel said no fee, thank you. And when you mentioned the donation, she said that's still not bad. And she wants to know, because she's in another state, is it Eastern Standard Time?
Eastern.
Yes, Chantel. She is in the same state and town. Well, not town, the same state that I'm on.
Okay.
So if you have any other questions for Shana, see how I got it right this time? For Shana, feel free to shoot her an email. Go follow her social media. She's always posting similar events to this one, free events for women and girls that you can take advantage of. And Shana, thank you so much for joining us and for all this nuggets that you
Rosa. I appreciate you.
So guys, we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. with our next guest. And tomorrow is the last day. So we'll have a show at 12 p.m., at 6 p.m. And at the end of the 6 p.m. show, we are going to have our raffle. So make sure you stay till the end. So Shana, thank you again. And I will talk to you shortly. Okay. Guys, till next time, take care of yourself and each other.
Bye.
Bye.